Welcome to the official podcast of FCS Fans Nation with your hosts Kyler Neal, Matthew Frazee, and Lawrence Smith.
FCS Fans Nation. That's my best Matt impersonation. Sorry, guys, it was already not as good. I may quit. But we are back. We are live. We have another episode coming at you. As you can see, the unbiased Bison admin is finally taking a break. You give Chris a lot of crap for taking a week off. I don't think he has. You gave me a lot of crap for taking a week off. Jamie, you're a guest. You don't get crap. We just applaud you. Lawrence, who knows where the hell you have been? We have no clue. But Matthew Frazee, he's finally taken a week off because he's got to save the world and do all that stuff. So I am your host, the biased Bison admin this week, because you know what? We got a dub. Yeah, I hate you, Bison. But we're with us today. We got Jamie Williams. How you doing, D-Law, the new D-Law, the improved D-Law?
Hey, I'm like the ultimate like fill-in guy. I'm a perfect Brian Scalabrine without the red hair.
I mean, you got the name, you got the repping behind you. That dude moved to Washington. You have to hold down the fort. You are the true JMU fan of this fan base. He is an Eastern Washington fan. When he submits his picks for the pick'em, you know what school he puts? Eastern Washington. That's
Does
right.
he?
I don't know, probably.
I was like, I grade those. I never looked, but I've always thought it was weird that we even I don't think it's on the pick'em. It's on the top 10.
It's on the top 10, yeah.
I think he's Eastern Washington on the top 10. We'll have to look. I think he said it.
Well, he's currently taking classes there, so I'll give him a little bit of a pass. I'll hold down the East Coast out here in Virginia.
Hey, I mean, you move for love. And also with us, we got the Vandal alumni, Chris P. Hammond. What you drinking, bud?
Water.
Yeah, you want to show the crowd what your new fandom looks like?
No, I don't think people are interested.
All right, guys. Well, this was another awesome week of football. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to rely on both of you because I was spending most of my weekend watching basketball because it is March Madness. But guess what? This is still an FCS podcast. We have a lot of FCS stuff to break down, so let's dive right into the questions. All right. First question, and like Matthew Frazee, I am going to butcher a lot of names, and you guys can either yell at me on the page. You can ignore me. I don't care. You can block me, but I'm going to butcher some of these names. But Shane Klebert, basically your question is, considering that the Southland Conference should have two teams in the 16-team playoff field, auto bid and then one at-large, is it safe to say that the at-large bid from the Southland Conference will go to a one-loss team? Jamie, what do you feel about the actual Southland? Are they going to get two bids? Do you have to only be a one-loss team to actually get a bid in the Southland right now?
I kind of think so. And I think this weekend's game between Incarnate Word and Nichols is going to tell you who's got the inside track to that second bid. I think Sam Houston, they have a little bit of room if they lose one. Name recognition, have how they've played so far. They're going to be probably on track for a at large, even if they drop one and don't win the auto bid. Incarnate Word, even if they lose one game, unfortunately, they don't have that name recognition. And I know the committee shouldn't look at that, but they sometimes do. And they're playing great. So we'll see how they do against Nichols. I think the last time we saw Nichols, they were slogging off the field, getting hammered by Sam Houston. But Incarnate Word with that freshman quarterback, Cameron Ward, look out for him. I think right now he's my favorite for the Jerry Rice Award. So I think they can get two bids, but I think this weekend's game is going to tell you who that might be.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything you said, Jamie. The thing about the Southland is right now, I think they're good enough to be a two-bid conference. The rest of the league is so crazy with only 6 at-larges. I don't think you just have to be a one-loss team to automatically get a bid. I think it depends on what the other conferences do. Does the CAA start beating up each other? Does Eastern and UC Davis, one of them, drop? Does Idaho beat Eastern Washington? There's going to be a lot of mix-ups for this last 6 seeds. So, I mean, one loss probably secures a good chance, but I don't think that's the only opportunity. You just got to hope the rest of the conference and the rest of the league beats each other up. Chris Hammond, what's kind of your thought process?
I think the Southland is getting dangerously close to being like the Big Sky. Yes, that makes sense, right? Like the at-large will probably go to a team with one loss. But they have some teams that are going to be possibly flirting with 2 losses here shortly. You have Sam Houston. So the only way that really happens is if Sam Houston loses to, I don't have their schedule pulled up in front of me, but let's just say they're to beat Sela. I don't know, Incarnate Word, right? I don't know, somebody. And that team ends up winning and only have 1 loss. But like Nichols can't afford to lose again. Sela is probably out. Like McNeese is out. But like, I don't know. I think they should get 2 teams, but I mean, they can't just take that one to the bank yet.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think 2 teams is definitely doable. 1 team is definitely doable for every conference outside of the Valley and CAA. I mean, it just depends on who beats each other up. That's kind of what
margin
I'm looking
of
at.
error is razor thin this year.
It's razor thin. Yeah, it's pretty fun to watch because the OVC looks like, they have potential for 2 teams. Who knew about Missouri State coming in? So, yeah.
I think if you look at the OVC, though, and I was looking at that yesterday, SEMO they're done. They're trash. Austin P not going to do it. Only way, in my opinion, that the OVC gets 2 bids is if Murray State beats Jacksonville State, because then Jacksonville State's getting an at-large. I think even if Murray State loses one, I'm not sure they can tout enough resume to take one of those at-large bids over what you're going to see from the other conferences.
Yeah. No, I think that's 100% true. I think Jacksonville State already won an at-large. I really they can afford to lose a game. They already have one of the 6 playoff positions spot. So if Murray State beats Jacksonville, OVC gets 2 teams in. So we'll have to kind of see how it plays out. Let's see here. So William Lip, he adds, does UND still win the Missouri Valley after this last Saturday? And here's who's left on North Dakota's schedule: Youngstown State, Missouri State, and then Illinois State just canceled. So they have 2 teams left. I mean, Chris Hammond, what's your thought? Does North Dakota, win out and at least share something for the Valley?
Probably. But I mean, maybe I'm just higher on Missouri State and Youngstown State than others. Those are trap games. I'm not willing to just throw those in that UND should win these games. I've seen a lot of people say, well, they're going to win out. Youngstown almost took South Dakota State. They took them to a game-winning field goal to lose. They held North Dakota State, better than UND did defensively. As the season goes on, Youngstown's giving people fits. Should UND beat them? Yes. Would I be absolutely surprised if Youngstown beat them? No. Missouri State seems to have found something. Do I think they're there yet to where this is actually a serious, they could pull it off thing? No, but I'll tell you, I would rather see like a Western Illinois type of team there at the end than I would Youngstown and Missouri State for sure.
Yeah, Jamie, what's your thought process on does North Dakota win the Missouri Valley?
Well, I think North Dakota is going to be the biggest South Dakota State Jackrabbit fans here in 2 weeks, because in order for that to happen, South Dakota State has to beat North Dakota State. Unfortunately, UND loses that game against Illinois State at the end, and it's just a no contest. They don't get the free win. That tough situation there. Like Chris said about Youngstown State, I know I give them a lot of crap the last few weeks, and I've kind of trashed them, but it looks like they may have at least found a running game, if nothing else. So they, hold onto the ball, grind it down, shorten the games like they did against South Dakota State. They picked up a win this past week. I wouldn't look past them. And Missouri State, I don't know, Petrino power. They look good so far, but I don't think they have any kind of signature win. But also that one loss is North Dakota State, which makes North Dakota State's resume look just a little bit better. So sorry, people looking for North Dakota State to be left out of the seeds. Their resume is improving by the week.
Yeah. Missouri, yeah. Bobby Petrino builds teams as fast as he crashes motorcycles.
Here's also kind of what I want to add, William. So here's the deal. We've been saying this, at least I have, every week since this podcast has started. I was waiting for North Dakota to be North Dakota. maybe that's my Big Sky bias in them. Maybe that's because they have never beat my team, so I just don't put them on a pedestal yet. They had a phenomenal year. They deserved every 1 seed vote that they got so far until they lost because of the resume. But it's still weird. I just had that lingering feeling that North Dakota is still not as good as we all think they are. North Dakota State shut them out. I would not be surprised to see North Dakota hiccup on the road again. I just wouldn't be surprised. But if they don't hiccup because they still have a favorable schedule, then I don't know how the Valley's going to share this, especially with Illinois State being out. North Dakota State, they'll already win the tiebreaker. Plus, they've already played Illinois State, I believe, so they're going to have 1 game up. South Dakota State, I think they still have Illinois State on the schedule. So if South Dakota State beats North Dakota State, and UND wins out, then I would assume North Dakota wins the title because they'd at least have the head-to-head over South Dakota State. I think it's going to be interesting, but even if North Dakota wins the Missouri Valley, I'm putting it right here. They will lose in the quarterfinals. Fighting Hawks, you're going to be fighting. Don't think you're going to be fighting very deep this year.
It's still an improvement for them, though.
It's still an improvement. It's from, basically the round of 32 to the quarterfinals. So anything's up from North Dakota. And what a phenomenal first year that they've had, though. Let's give them credit. First year in the Valley, they've done extremely well besides playing their in-state rival.
It's not over.
It's not over yet. They can
South
still win
Dakota
it for
State's
sure.
got a shot to take out those Bison. And
I think
they win the conference. So
yeah. No, I think North Dakota State has as good of a shot to win the conference as anyone else. So take that as it is. Okay, Jacob Martinez, Kennesaw State dude. How you doing, bud? So will weather play a factor in the playoffs favoring hot climate schools like JSU, Sam Houston, if they get home games? If so, how does Frisco's weather look in mid-May? So I'll take this right off the bat. I think it is going to be easier to prep for the South in April than it is for Southern teams to prep for the North in December. It's more mild in April than it is in the North in December, unless you're playing in a dome. So sure, maybe weather will play a small factor, but it's not extremely hot in April in any portion of the South. You'll get a couple muggy days, a couple hot days compared to what people are used to in the North, but it's not extreme. It's not like we're playing in the summer. Now, May, that's a different ball game. May can get a little warm in the South, but I don't think it's drastic enough to say it's going to alter any game. Sure, let's give them a little bit of a home field advantage. Let's give them 3 points off the bat. Jamie, what's your thought process on that?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a big deal. It's hot everywhere. People are used to practicing in August and then the hot times in summer, so I don't think the conditioning is going to really hurt them. I know they haven't necessarily always been playing games at that time in certain climates, but the best team's still going to win the game, team that should, and I better not see any excuses for weather when time comes.
Yep. Weather you can prep for. It sucks sometimes, but you can change your game plan. You can start rotating more people out, all of that stuff. Weather is an excuse, but it's not an excuse to lose a game, in my opinion. Chris Hammond, what's your thoughts, man?
I'm with you guys. I think April, May, the weather's just not extreme enough to make it a difference to compare to like August when teams kick off week 1 or early September, where you can go to the South and with humidity it can be feeling in the hundreds, right? Like humidity levels and everything aren't going to be that high. April, May, like it's not going to be one of those hot, muggy, sweaty. You're going to see a billion fans, dudes sweating through their jerseys. So I do think heat plays a factor normally. I would be shocked if anywhere is that hot that it makes a difference early. And kind of like the tail end of your question says, if you're going to win the national championship, you better get used to it anyways because it's in Texas. So whether you're playing at Sam Houston, JSU, maybe in Nichols, like guess what? You're going to have to play in the South and in the weather. So I don't know what to tell you. I agree with you guys. I think very minimal, especially if you're like North Dakota State who has a dome. Just crank up the heat.
Just crank it up. Steam them out. Perfect. So also, guys, just be aware our questions are posted by the fans. If you do not like the questions we are talking about, if you don't like the content we are talking about, after the games on Sunday, we have a post that will tell you how to interact with our podcast. Please submit any questions you have, and we will do our best to answer them. Now back to it. Keith Hooper. How you doing, Keith? Sam Houston fan. So he has a question about Sam Houston, and I think Sam Houston's a hot topic, so I don't mind, talking about Sam Houston. It's well deserved. Does Sam Houston look more like a 2-time runner-up last decade, or the team with the epic blowouts? I'm leaning towards the latter because of the lack of protection from the run game. That's kind of concerned Keith. Let's toss it to. Let's see. Chris, you got a gold mic. Let's talk it to. Let's pass it to you, man.
My answer's going to be kind of boring here. I barely remember the Sam Houston teams just because, that was still when Idaho was FBS. I was more focused on FBS football. I did watch FCS, like the semifinals and finals, so I did catch those games. But, I wasn't aware of the run-up for Sam Houston in those years. So what I see out of this is I see the team that's blowing out or having epic blowouts because I haven't had my heart broken like before. So I'm gonna give you optimism here. I think you've got it. I think you might not be the last one when the clock hits midnight at the ball this year.
Perfect. Yeah, Jamie, what's your thought process on Sam Houston? What Sam Houston does this look like? The early 2010s or the latter part?
It looks more like the early part, just because the defense is a lot better. They can still move the ball. I think Keith's right. They need to find a little bit running game. Although I do think when the chips were down, I think Schmid ran for 4 touchdowns this week. So what they need to run it, they ran it down tight, and that's kind of where that's where you make your money. But don't get me wrong. I also remember Sam Houston teams that are top offenses in the country and walk into Bridgeport Stadium and 10 minutes into the game is 28-0 JMU. So I see where Keith's coming from. I think he's got a little bit of a pessimism. I think he's just trying not to get himself too excited. I can tell you that if you look at the output of the stats poll this week, Sam Houston did move up to number 5, and they did have one first place vote, just one.
Yeah, who was that, Jamie?
That was this guy.
Perfect.
I really like the way Sam Houston's playing. I just right now, I'm not sure who can score with them because Schmid's putting up 400 yards a game. Yeah. You got to score with them. I mean, and their defense is a lot better. So until proven otherwise, Sam looks like they've got a shot to be there at the end.
Yeah, I think they definitely have a shot. Here's kind of what I'm going to look at, because to be a team that needs to make a deep run, you need to be a very balanced team. And I don't care if it's strictly just, offense versus defense. I mean, you want to be able to run the ball when possible, but you need a defense. And all of the last champions in the past, they've either at least had a phenomenal offense and a good defense, or a phenomenal defense and a good offense. Sam Houston's defense has improved. Their offense looks phenomenal. Right now, Sam Houston, in total defense, they're not in the top 40. In scoring defense, I don't believe they're in the top 40. I could be wrong on that, so you guys can correct me if I'm right. But Sam Houston, you're playing extremely well. But if you want to make a run past the semis again, I think you just need to clean up a couple things. Competition is going to continue to get harder. Right now, I'm going to say Sam Houston at least looks like Sam Houston from most of the 2010s. I just do not know which Sam Houston it's going to look like. Is it going to be the one who can get past the semifinals, or is it going to be the one who gets blown out? Or maybe they lose in the semis, but it's finally competitive. I don't know, but all I know is Sam Houston, they did not stay down for long. I just don't know which aspect of Sam Houston it is, but Sam Houston's at least back. They are a semifinal contender. That's all I'll say. Maybe that's a cop-out answer. All right, Jamie, we're gonna kind of reach out to you a little bit, and this is a question from yourself, Jamie Williams. So
good guy.
I want you to answer your own question, and then when Chris and I say your answer sucks, then we'll give you some feedback. But Jamie Williams asks, Rhode Island is 2-0, haven't beaten 2 ranked teams. What do you make of the Rams? What do you think? What do you think of the Rams, Jamie? Before we answer, because you're the expert.
I'm still going to be leery of them. I still think they beat Villanova, who I thought was really good, but the Rams ran with them, and then they beat Albany, who might be the Albany of a couple years ago and not the Albany of last year. Undercuffler has not looked good. As much as I like him, and I know we were really excited to see how they would come out, and they beat New Hampshire. But Rhode Island's looked pretty good. they play Delaware this week, I believe, and I think that's going to tell us a lot in the North Division of the CAA. I want to say they're for real, but if Delaware runs them off the field this week, then maybe we'll rethink that. But I think I'm going to hold for now, and that's a terrible answer, but to my own question. But I think we still got to wait and see if it's just a blip or if they've got something. I know good quarterback, got some speed too, got a good running back, freshman. So maybe they've kind of turned a corner. We'll see.
Yeah, I want to see what they look like versus Delaware, who's been on fire. In the CAA, they've played the best football compared to anyone else in the CAA from at least on a paper aspect. I want to see what they look like versus Delaware. Maybe Delaware's going to cop out like they have the last few years. Maybe Delaware's the real deal. Maybe Rhode Island is just benefiting from this crazy year. Maybe they're good. Maybe they're improved. Maybe Villanova is not good. Maybe Albany is trash. I mean, I don't know anything that's going on in the CAA because it's so unbalanced. There's so many cancellations. There's chaos involved everywhere. I think Rhode Island is probably having the best start that they could have hoped for. I mean, Does that mean that I think they should be ranked probably near 25? I wouldn't put them much more than that. Also, because I don't have Albany ranked, and I don't have Villanova really ranked anymore. So they look better than I thought they would. Are they a playoff contender? We're gonna find out when they play Delaware. I mean, that's another cop-out answer. It's a lot of we are going to find out. Chris Hammond, you set the mood. It got a little dark in there. What you thinking about Rhode Island?
Man, I'm glad you guys went before me because deja vu, doesn't this feel like we're talking about North Dakota a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, well, they beat Southern Illinois, but it's like, is Southern Illinois really that good? Oh, they beat South Dakota State. Was that a fluke? Or are they kind of good? Then they beat a ranked South Dakota team. Well, that was a ranked win, but they're not ranked anymore. And you're just like, we don't really know. And I feel like that's how Rhode Island is. Like, they beat at the time was Villanova's top 5, not top 10. Albany had slipped up, but they got the win against still a top 25 team. And you're right, Delaware right now seems to be the team in the CAA North right now. Maybe the whole CAA, and maybe they get proved to be false gold this week if Rhode Island can beat them. And then you're sitting there and you go, once again, what kind of resume? Who else has a top 10, a top 20, and what is Delaware right now? Probably top 10 or close there to it.
11 or 12.
Yeah. So it's like, that's quite the resume. I feel like it'd be hard not to say they're good. And then you have New Hampshire, who on their own used to have a little bit of steam behind them. I mean, they've got everything ahead of them to prove it. But it just reminded me, I guess because the CIA started a little bit later, especially the North. Holy smokes, this just feels like North Dakota a couple weeks later.
Yeah, I totally agree. And Jamie, you asked another question. So I'm going to take over this question because I like it. So VMI and Chattanooga, they may not play in the SoCon. If they did, who wins and why? I'm going to actually lean towards kind of a team that I would have never pictured. I would have guessed if you asked me even 2 weeks ago. I'm leaning towards VMI. I think they would beat Chattanooga this year. And the reason why is because this is a very balanced team, and balanced teams can beat good teams. So VMI, they are a top 20 scoring offense. They're also a top 23 scoring defense, which means they're scoring a lot of points. They're not really allowing a lot of points. VMI looks like the better team on paper. I think that they have played a slightly tougher schedule. I mean, we'll see. It's pretty even. But I'm going, Virginia Military Institute. Who would have thought I would have ever picked VMI to win anything in a hypothetical game? But yeah, I'm picking them to win. Chris.
I love the story. I really do.
Yeah.
I'm still going to take the Mocs on this.
T.O.'s not playing for the Mocs anymore.
What? T.O.'s not? I think I do think VMI is turning the corner. I do think they're good, and I do think it would be a close game. I don't know why. I just have a gut feeling that says the Mocs would win this, and maybe I'd just be the next fool with egg on my face. But that's my pick. Simple enough. I don't really have a reason for you other than I just like Chattanooga better this year, despite the records.
It's a fun name to say, Chattanooga.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jamie, what's your thoughts on those two games? Because that was your question.
Yeah, I've got VMI at 10 and Chattanooga at 11, so I think it's a close matchup, and I lean VMI just for the simple fact that I think VMI can score if they need to. Chattanooga's doing it with defense, and their defense is really good. They're locking down people, but I think if you get down to the end and you need to score, VMI is going to do it. And they were down this past week, down to their fourth down and just a touch, and Reese Udinsky throws a perfect ball to the side of the end zone. The receiver snags it, and then they get the 2-point conversion in overtime. Things look right for VMI, and I'm not jumping off the VMI bandwagon. I started the bandwagon after week 1, so I'm sticking with them. Keydets, let's go.
Yeah, I love it, man. You have been sticking with him, so I give you credit. When you were sticking with him in the very beginning, I laughed, maybe out loud, maybe on the podcast. At least I laughed in my head. So you are proving me wrong. One portion of me laughed, so I'll admit it. Who would have ever thought VMI would have been good at anything besides being an awesome institution for military? But they're good at football this year. At least that's what it looks like on paper.
Your VMI pick is making my Mercer pick look really bad.
I'm in the East, East Coast bias.
You're a Virginia guy. You have to be a little biased. Every year, VMI is going to turn a corner, and eventually, after that record, any year is a turn corner for VMI. But dude, they're looking good. Like you just said, you're an official voter, and you voted them 10.
Yeah. Good
job, VMI. Is it deserving? We don't know. Beat a couple more teams, and we'll see. All right, so Stuart. I'm just gonna say Stuart. That's your first name. We'll tag you. Your last name is Klovstad. Okay. Well, you're Stuart. You're Stuart K for me. But all right. As of today, NDSU appears to be one-dimensional on offense. Can NDSU, or any team for that matter, win it all with being a one-dimensional offense? Let's pass it to Jamie Williams first.
One-dimensional? No. That's why the triple option never wins. You have to have a threat to throw the ball. And right now, I don't see why teams are not just stacking the box, play one-on-one, and make Seb Nolan beat you. I know there's the threat of the speed of Christian Watson, and maybe that's what it is. Slide the safety over, stack the box with 8, and make them run past you, and maybe Lupke will just run over you. And North Dakota State, if anybody can do it, obviously it's them. I'm not going to completely count them out, but if they're going to remain one-dimensional, somebody's going to trip them up.
Yeah,
somebody's going to stop the run. So
good luck. That Weber right now looks like the team they would not want to run into.
Well, Jamie Williams just took the job of Kurt Signetti because he just explained exactly how JMU should have played in the second half of NDSU last year in the title game. Stack the box.
But with the quarterback spy.
No, Jamie, I 100% agree with you. I don't think you can be in a one-dimensional offense and win a title nowadays. You need some type of balance. And right now, North Dakota State passing the ball, in my opinion, looks like one of the worst teams in the FCS passing the ball. They are very good at Hail Marys. Let's give Zeb a little credit. He is the Aaron Rodgers in the last 30 seconds of every half. That is it. That is the only thing you can do. You're only able to throw Hail Marys right now. Against a very good defense, they are going to be able to stop the run if you cannot throw the ball. So, yeah, I'm going to say right now, I do not think NDSU is a title by any means until they fix their offense. Chris Hammond, what's your thought?
I would say typically I would 100% agree with you guys. I just think this year, with it being so weird, it's totally possible this could happen. Less games you got to play. And then you're looking at some of these serious contenders. Kennesaw, apparently, people think, one-dimensional. Weber State, not really showing a lot of extra dimension from their offense. North Dakota State's not really showing any. Heck, even North Dakota is starting to look a little bit like, just give it away because we struggle with some other things. South Dakota State, even without Pierre Strong, still are just like run the ball. Eastern Washington is just Eric Barrier dance-a-thon till he can find somebody open. So, you look at some of these teams that are going to be contending this year, it's weird to say that, Sam Houston and JSU probably have the most balanced in terms of, could kill you in a couple different ways, which then goes back to our original Sam Houston point. maybe they are the best because their offense is one of the least predictable. But I don't know. And then you got UC Davis, who actually, if they can make that spot with Alonzo Gilliam and the way Hunter Rodriguez played, I think he had like 8 snaps and had 4 touchdowns last week before they pulled him in their 73-point game. So maybe UC Davis. But I just think a lot of those are kind of your tier 2s, right? Your tier 1s, your NDSUs, South Dakota States, Weber's kind of have that one-dimensional offense. And we'll see what James Madison can do with Maloney. I'm holding judgment on that. But I just feel like we're really set up for like defensive battles in the playoffs this year because there isn't going to be a lot of offensive creativity, I don't believe.
Yeah, you could be totally right on that. I mean, it's been such a crazy season. We just have to see how it plays out. Anything is possible this season, which leads us to Bruce. Bruce's question of the day, Bruce Edmondson. So other than everybody's favorite conference, which none of us on this podcast like, the Missouri Valley, which lesser conferences might send more than one team to the playoffs? Chris, go for it, man.
Big Sky, CAA, and I think we touched on it, maybe the Southland or the OVC, but probably the Southland. It's a tough one. There's just not a lot of spots. And heck, the Big Sky, I think, is super dangerous from completely removing themselves from consideration. So that's tough. I mean, the Missouri Valley is probably going to get 3, and then probably CAA, Southland, and Big Sky. I'll take that.
Okay, Jamie?
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, the OVC's only shot at 2 is if Murray beats Jacksonville State. The way Jacksonville State's playing, I'd take the Gamecocks in that one. Southland, like we said earlier, again, depends on this week. Nichols versus Incarnate Word, and then what happens between Incarnate Word and Sam down the road. I think we might even see 4 from the Missouri Valley if things really break out. I don't think it's going to happen, but if people keep beating up each other,
I think SIU is officially out.
UNI's out.
Missouri State, I don't think can get there. I think you're at UND, SDSU, and NDSU. I don't think anyone else could sneak. I mean, I guess if Missouri State does go on this roll at the end of the year and their only loss is to NDSU, so I mean, I guess I don't want to jump ahead of the question, but maybe, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely was couching that, but yeah, if everybody else beats themselves up. But
sorry, it took me I had to start thinking that thought process to hit that.
Yeah, the CAA, if JMU bounces back, and they practice today, so let's see what kind of team they have. Who can they roll out this week? Can they beat William Mary if they take care of business? Can they get 2 from the north? I doubt it. But if you have 2 one-loss teams up north, maybe as well. TBD. Good question, Bruce.
Yeah, so Bruce, I think we're all playing for basically 3 at-larges right now, because I do think the Missouri Valley grabs 2 of the at-larges. I think the CAA does grab 1 just because of how it's split up. So there's 3 more at-larges. One of these 3 conferences is getting left in the dust. And I mean, just to rank them in terms of what I think is most likely, Big Sky gets 1. Southland gets the 2nd, because I think JSU wins the OVC. I think you guys go undefeated. But I mean, any one of those 3 could easily punch themselves out of the playoffs, like Chris was even saying. With the Big Sky, 100% UC Davis beats Eastern, or Eastern beats UC Davis, and one of the teams lose again. It's very possible. Yeah, it's very possible.
Look out for the SoCon, just because right now VMI and Chattanooga are not playing each other. If they both run the table, how do you keep one of them out with 0 losses?
That's true.
Very true. Yeah.
Dude, the Big Sky is a big mess. I mean, yeah, if Eastern beats UC Davis and then Idaho beats Eastern again, then Eastern's probably not going. UC Davis isn't going. Idaho notoriously would probably then let down the very next week. Plus, Idaho State looks like they could maybe sneak up on Idaho. Like, you could have that second place team in the Big Sky all have 2 losses, and I don't think a 2-loss Big Sky team is getting in.
No, I've said that from the beginning. I even think just a 1-loss Big Sky team is just a bubble team. Just depends on what everyone else does. So yeah, 2 losses from probably any of those bottom conferences you're out.
You're out.
Well, I mean, and by bottom conferences, I don't mean bottom conferences in the FCS. I mean basically the bottom conferences that are fighting for that last 3 seeds, because I do think the CAA gets 2 just how it's spaced out. 1 at large, 1 champ. I think the Missouri Valley gets 2 at larges. So again, we got the rest of the conferences battling for 3. Good luck. It's do or die. I have no clue which one is going to send more than 1 team. I just think it's probably out of those 4 conferences, like Jamie just added, the SoCon. I think that's solid. Yeah. 2 of those conferences will send 1. 2 of them will send 2.
And, we're going to have the major showdown here in a couple of weeks of Duquesne versus Bryant in the Northeastern Conference, which then means we might have 2 one-loss teams up there, and they'll probably get in that large bid as well.
No, they won't. I don't think they will, because even in
Mr.
24,
NEC there.
yeah, even on 2014 playoffs, the NEC never gets 2 at larges.
They haven't seen these teams play. Let me tell you what.
Yeah.
Dang West Coast bias. Wake up and watch your Northeast teams.
The other Dukes are going to destroy Bryant. Duquesne's going undefeated in the conference.
There you go. So, Bruce, that was to answer your question. What is your thought? Maybe comment below, Bruce. What do you think is going to happen? So, all right, we got a question from Patrick Frex. Is Missouri State better than we think, or does UNI stink?
Yes.
Yeah, you stole my answer. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all going to say the same thing. Missouri State is definitely better than they were last year. They were one of, if not the worst team from the Big 3. Them, Western Illinois, Northern Colorado, and whoever the bottom of the CA was, were all pushing it for the worst of the worst. Missouri State is not the worst of the worst right now. They look very improved. But at the same time, UNI, in my opinion, and I've said this for a while, has arguably the worst offense in the world. If you can score 12 points on UNI, you have a chance to win. UNI is a very tough team. They are so bad at offense. So I think it's a mixture of both. Missouri State definitely better than we thought. UNI definitely not as good as we thought. That's how it went.
To be fair, Kyler knows this. I was high on Missouri State. I didn't think I was this high, but Kyler told me he did not think they were going to be that good out of the gate. And I said, this is what Bobby Petrino does. He builds teams to this miraculous level for like 2 years, their best level these programs have had in like a long, long time, and then he leaves and everything comes tumbling down. Arkansas, Louisville, Louisville and Arkansas. Well, Arkansas had some history, but Louisville was never good at football. He comes, leaves, they stink, bring him back. He gets it going again. Now they're obviously solidified. Arkansas was a top 3 team pushing for the SEC West while he was there. That will probably never happen again. Sorry, any Razorbacks fans.
Let's be a little fair, Chris. You said last year he was going to turn Missouri State around last year and be super good. And I said,
this is his first year.
Is it?
Yeah. It just feels longer because we didn't play in the fall.
Oh, shit. That's right. Okay. I was
he got hired last
You said something
spring.
about last year. That was a long time ago when we had this conversation about Petrino.
Yeah, it was a while between seasons.
You got a good point. I was like, no, this was a 2020 conversation. I can pull it up. But yeah, that's before we didn't play. Okay. Fair enough. Jamie, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, Patrick, I mean, Missouri State's clearly better than we thought, but Northern Iowa is even worse than we thought. I mean, I thought
some of us, also.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that, they had a good freshman receiver coming in, a strong defense. I thought McElvain might have been taking a step forward. I should have just rewatched the tape of them playing JMU in the quarterfinals last year. They didn't cross the 50-yard line until the last drive of the game. We had our 4th string in. That team can't play offense. We just bled them to death, and it just continued. And yeah, they're terrible.
Which stinks because
FCS
is better with a good UNI, but
yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's still UNI. They can still play well. They can still beat North Dakota State. I mean, who knows? So here's the deal. Now we're going to go on some quick hit questions. I'm just going to assign these at random to you guys. I do not know which one I'm going to do yet, and my mic just kind of broke, so let me hold it. So there we go. Now it's good. Okay, so quick hit questions. Mel God, we know enough to know we don't know. That's perfect. That's a perfect sentence. That is very true. Crazy to have some polls when some teams have not even played enough games. Spring polls should come towards the end of the season, right? Jamie, you're a poll voter. This one's going to you.
Well, the polls are out there. We need to vote for them. I did drop Monmouth because they haven't played a game. So, yeah, they drop out because, you got to play at this point. Polls are good. It tells you where 40 people think the teams lay out. I post mine every week. Like I said last week, I'll always will. But to wait on a poll, what's the point? I think we covered that a week or so ago.
And yeah, I was gonna say, Mel, like last week's episode, I think we had 2 questions about this. So if you need more information,
well, he does have a Vikings logo, I think, in his little Facebook thing. So give him a break.
Perfect. So Dustin has a fun one for all of us. So we'll just each give a name real quick. I'm going to throw a fun question. So this is from Dustin. Aside from your rivals, who has the worst mascot name in the FCS? So this is Dustin Helton. Chris.
Oh man, that's tough. I know this should be more exciting. No, I'll stick with Racers. I was gonna say I hate the Bears, the Eagles, the things that like Bulldogs, the ones that are just like a billion teams, or like this week we have Samford playing the Citadel. It's Bulldogs versus Bulldogs. Like, ugh. But
Michael Vick special.
Yeah, right.
Too soon.
Oh, not good. But I mean, the Racers to me has always been one where I'm just like, eh. But I don't know.
Jamie, what's your thought process?
Penguins. Screw anything named the Penguins. And my point was proved when I called them the Chili Willies, because last week I put a picture of Chili Willy and a picture of the Youngstown State mascot, and people thought that the Chili Willy was just their old mascot. So there's this stupid little penguin. I don't like anything penguins, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Go to the zoo, I walk past the penguins. Penguins are the worst.
So I'm going to do a very unpopular opinion, and it's just because of this picture. The rest of it, not so bad. But, sorry, Jamie, this is the worst mascot in the FCS. I hate the freaking Duke dog with his stupid crown. I'm just saying it. I hate it. I think it's stupid. Just have a regular bulldog. You can still be the dogs, the Duke dog, whatever you want to call it. But that crown, that outfit looks stupid. I'm
Duke
saying it.
Sorry,
Jamie.
See, yeah, then
I thought we were friends.
And then see, I like it because at least you could have just gone and called yourself the Bulldogs.
I think it's stupid. I think it's a stupid crown. I think it's a stupid mascot costume. Everything about it. But JMU has some of the sweetest jerseys, sweetest uniforms. So I give them credit.
Somebody next week, please name us like your top 3 favorite FCS ones, because the FCS is like minor league baseball, and there are some great team names.
They got some,
and that one I could get behind. So whoever does that, I might like find a way to get you a beer or something. If
no one's better than the slugs, the banana slugs.
And the slugs, yeah.
But they're not FCS. But yeah,
they're
the
not
UC
FCS.
Santa Barbara. No, Santa. Is it Santa Barbara?
It's Santa Barbara.
I think it's Santa Barbara. Yeah.
There's the Anteaters. I love Austin P. The Governors.
Yeah.
But
Okay,
Racers
so-
for me. That one's just like, what?
Yeah. So this one's gonna be for Chris. So
Cool.
by Shane Gilbert. How big is number 17 Nichols versus number 20 Incarnate Word game next Saturday? This is for the 16-team playoff field. How important is this game?
It's a playing game.
Yeah.
Whoever wins this, as we covered with the Big Sky, where the CAA is at, how the Missouri Valley has basically dwindled itself down to 3 teams. The winner of this game, pending they handle the rest of their season, should get the at-large bid. Because Sam Houston, even if they slip up probably at this point, is still going to get the auto. So, yeah.
I think that's fair. We can all take this one. We'll just be quick on it. So with Brandon Owens, he's asking, with North Dakota losing, who do you think the 4 seeds are? I'll go first and say this is what I think they should be. I do not agree this is what the committee will do. So right now, the 4 seeds, and put them in any order, I don't care. Sam Houston State, Weber State, Jacksonville State, North Dakota State, or South Dakota State. Those are my 4 seeds today if it ended. I don't think the committee's going to do that, though. I think if JMU wins out, they'll probably still have JMU seated. If Weber wins out, they'll have Weber seated. And if North Dakota State wins out, they'll probably have if North Dakota State wins out, then they'll be above. They'll take spots on my SDSU pick. But if the season ended right now, those are my 4 seeds today. Jamie, what's your shot?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really add to that. I think the committee will do and what should be. I think I'm 100% lockstep with you. And I think a seed definitely goes to the winner of South Dakota State, North Dakota State. So just mark one for those, and then we'll see from there.
Yeah, Tubbs.
I'm a lot like Jamie, except a little different. I think North Dakota gets a seed probably, and the winner of NDSU, SDSU also gets a seed. I think UND has solidified themselves a seed. And then I think you're looking at Weber if they win out, and then you're probably looking at JSU. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
You know what? Good point. See, it's tricky because then you also have JMU, but I need to see JMU start looking, like JMU before I'm willing to give them a seed. But yeah, I guess you're right. Then there's Sam Houston. So maybe if NDSU loses to SDSU, I put Sam Houston. No, because they played well enough. Man, this is why I'm not on a selection committee. Yeah, you're probably that probably weasels UND out. There's probably no way for them to get it because they just don't have a big win at the end of their season. So yeah, it's probably winner of SDSU, NDSU, Weber, Sam Houston, and JSU.
This was the quickest, change someone's mind opinion. What about Sam Houston? Oh, yep. Okay.
Well, it would be a crying shame if you would have let me get away with not bringing them up. So I appreciate you quick hitting me in the head there and being like, dumb. What about the undefeated Southland team?
Yeah. Adam Peterson asks, do you prefer to sit at a football game higher up or lower on the field? Is that two questions, or do you prefer to sit rather than stand, or do you just prefer to sit
I
lower
think
or
he
higher?
Means where do you prefer your seats to be in a football stadium?
Okay. On the field. We're not all that rich. Yeah. No, I like in between. If I go to NFL games, I always tend to sit in the 200 level, like the club seats. You get the best view. You're still close enough, but you don't have anyone blocking the whole view. You get the best view. I like the 200 level on NFL stadiums, so whatever that would be equivalent for FCS. Chris?
I'm a huge heckler. I need to be right there, front and center. I need to tell Eric Berrier, call him Two Gloves Berrier. I need to tell Southern Utah that their line is tiny. I need to be able to be there and have them hear me and not like hear us, just me. I am front. My season tickets are front row, right in front of the offensive linemen's meeting area for the away team. And I let them have it all game. So I'm a front and center dude.
Love it. Jamie, what's your thoughts, man?
Yeah, when I was young and in college, I was definitely front and center guy, like Chris there. I was the face paint guy, yelling at the teams. Parents hearing me on the TV broadcast clearly. Yeah, I mean, the championship game against Youngstown State, I think I was in the fourth row and started chanting at the Youngstown punter after he shanked one and then messed up a snap and we blocked a field goal. And he took his net and moved it to the other end of the field because I had started chants that were on him. But now that I'm a little older and seasoned, but it's still a little nostalgic. When I go to Bridgeport Stadium, I like to sit on the old side near the top.
Perfect. Now, I like it. So here's a question from Josh Hoffman, a little bit not FCS related. He just wants to know, do we like playing golf? I'm going to say, Josh, yeah, man, I love playing golf. When my buddies come to visit, we have a golf weekend once a year where it's just dudes golfing for, 3 days. I enjoy it, man. If you ever come down to Houston, want to golf, let's golf. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I live on a golf course, so I'd be pretty lame to do that and not like golf.
I mean, I haven't played in a while and I'm terrible, but I've always said it's kind of the most fun I have being frustrated for 4 straight hours. So, yeah, I mean, enjoy getting out there, but I just don't play very often.
Josh just asked like a week or two ago if I like fishing too. My house is literally 0.2 miles to the river and on a 16th tee box. So, Josh, sounds like you just need to come on over, my friend. Let's have a little golf fish weekend.
That is literally all of Idaho in a nutshell. You're right next to a golf course and a river or a lake. Like
and
that
there
is
you
Idaho.
go, Adam Willie, on public land.
Move
not
to
the
Idaho.
land.
So, yeah, I mean, I like my rules, and I get to take off a stroke every beer I drink. So I average 18 beers, 18 strokes. I'm always hitting pretty well. Okay, so this is from Brandon Anderson. This is a fun one. We'll be real quick. So if applicable, how would you cook the mascot of your biggest rival? Jamie, let's go with you first. How would you cook a spider?
I think you're supposed to fry spiders and insects and stuff, fry them up and just pop them in. You fry a blue hen too.
There you go.
Yeah.
Chris, how you cooking your rival?
If any of you guys have seen the league, yo bagoya, that will destroy the horse meat in a cup. That's what I would do. I'd shred up some Bronco meat and put it in a cup and sell it in Chicago for like 50 cents.
Perfect. I am going to say for one, we're trying this whole Idaho rivalry, but it's not there yet as well. And you cannot cook another person. That is just disgusting. That's cannibalism at its finest. So I'm going to go with Montana, and I'm going to cook it the way I would cook a bear anyway, because it's delicious this way. You turn them into, beef sticks or bear sticks, pepperoni sticks. They're so good. Bear pepperoni sticks. Top,
somebody's got to send me some of that.
I've never had grizzly. I've had black bear. So
yeah, I've never had grizzly.
Go get some Maine. You get Maine. We'll go get a grizzly and we'll do some bear swap.
There we go. Hey, and since Matt's not here, you can grind up some bison. It's really lean. You can make a burger out of it.
Oh, bison is like actually, fun fact, like the healthiest meat you can eat. It's healthier than chicken and everything. Yeah.
Besides ostrich.
Ooh, I haven't had ostrich, and I don't know if I'd ever try.
We're all learning today.
That's why people come for the football and stay for the education.
That's right.
That's what they do. Okay, so where's one FCS
especially
stadium?
at Eastern?
Exactly. I just stayed for having a good time. I didn't even finish. Where's one FCS stadium you haven't been to but would like to go? This is from Adam Peterson. He wants to say the number one of his is definitely Montana. Chris Hammond, where would you like to go, man?
Harvard.
Yeah, that'd be sweet. Jamie Williams, what's yours?
Just if I'm going to stay out towards the east, I'd love to go to Burgess Snow, Jacksonville State, get that Southern comfort down there, and I think that'd be a good trip.
Yeah, I really want to go to, the one of the HBCU games, like the big old celebration games. One of the big bowl games. I don't know which one. You'd have to really sell me. The one that's played at the Cotton Bowl would be pretty sweet with the Grambling, but also what is it? The Bayou Classic. Yeah. That one looks amazing. Give me any of those. Now, if it's pure stadium, yeah, dude, I'm with Chris. I want to see Harvard or Yale for stadium aspect, the Yale Bowl or Harvard. Those would be my top choices. But for a game in a stadium atmosphere, man, give me to one of those classics. I think that'd be awesome. Okay, Scott Moody, who with their win this week, in your opinion, announced that they intend to be a title contender? I guess teams are announcing like boxing that they want to fight for the title. So Scott Moody, I think the teams are we going through each conference here? Jamie, you pick 2 conferences. Chris, you pick 2 conferences. I will. So Jamie, go.
Okay, I'll say maybe a title contender, Rhode Island, and I'll go ahead and bite the bullet on the Valley and say South Dakota State, just the way they beat up on Southern Illinois.
Okay, Chris, pick your 2 potential title contenders from a different conference each.
UC Davis, huge win. Looks like they're going to be legitimate. And then I think Sam Houston just continues to solidify themselves.
Yeah, I think I will go Jacksonville State. They look to be a possible title contender. And we're going to have to agree with Chris and say probably Sam Houston for, the non-big 3 potential title contenders. I think those are going to be it.
And
thoughts on VMI. Let's go. This is another question from a really good podcaster guy. You guys may have heard of him, but we give him the nickname D-Law, Big D-Law, because, he's the older, mature, more good-looking D-Law. But thoughts on Illinois State's mid-season opt-out? Chris, I want to hear your thoughts on this opt-out because you have been very keen on some of these opt-outs in the past. Let's hear.
Yeah, this one's no different. This is the exact same as Northern Colorado, in my opinion. And it's just, once again, it's the freaking way you said it. Just at this point, just come out and say, we see no point in moving forward in the season because we stink right now. Like, Illinois State was a top 10 team coming into this in the preseason rankings, and they have flopped. And they have flopped so far, even after a win this week, that they finally just said, we're out. And I know people are saying, oh, well, it's because of the health of the players. Well, I'm glad it took you to week 6 to realize that football is a violent sport and you're playing in the middle of a pandemic. Like, this is nothing new. This is nothing new from when your season got canceled in the fall. So you can play this. It's all for player safety as much as you want in terms of the pandemic. And that's just I was willing to accept that as an answer. It is an acceptable thing to feel, but you can't use it as a reason to opt out, because then what were you doing the last 5 weeks? Just not caring about your player safety? Like, that's a double-edged sword. You just said for 5 weeks you don't care about them, and now all of a sudden you do. Plus the fact that I think it sets a dangerous precedent. Somebody was going to do it. It sucks that it's actually a good school like Illinois State, that now anybody can drop out whenever they just think, our season's over. We're 0-4. What are we playing for? And then the other thing is, I've heard the big comeback for this, the whole like, oh, well, what we mean by player safety is we have like 2 defensive linemen out and then another 2 got hurt. Now we only have 1 defense. Guess what? If that happened in the fall, you would find out. You would play a linebacker there. You would play DNs there. You would burn red shirts, which you don't even have red shirts anymore. So if somehow Illinois State doesn't have 6 defensive linemen on their roster, what are they recruiting? How do you not have 6 players that can play on the defensive line? When the defensive line consistently has 3 or 4, depending on your defense. Like, you don't have a full ring of backups if you're running a 3-4, and you'd have less than a full run if you're running a 4-3. Like, that excuse is so BS to me. Recruit better. Find a way. If this was the fall, you would still be playing. And I get that you can say, well, it's not the fall and it's a weird season, but it absolutely bothers me so much, because they're just hiding behind the pandemic as an excuse to cancel the season because they don't find it advantageous for Illinois State to play football anymore. Not the players. The players were deciding in this, but they have just decided, we're tired of being embarrassed. We don't want to get anybody else hurt. We're going to play for the spring. Or fall. Just say that. Don't hide behind the pandemic. It bothers me. And you set a terrible precedent, because they will not be the last team to do this. I guarantee it now.
Yeah. Chris, are you okay?
What?
I said, are you okay? You had a Kyler rant going. It was just on. You were upset. I saw the veins popping out of the head.
When this news broke on Sunday, luckily I was, in and out of cell reception. This got me so angry that Twitter probably benefited from me being out of cell reception. There's the kicker at Illinois State, Fennelson, is a vandal, and he's now over there. And I even politely got into it with him a little back and forth, but it was just like, he's like, well, I don't see why Idaho should play anymore either. They had 30 people test positive or whatever for COVID. And I'm like, well, because they still have a chance, and because why not? I mean,
use the time to develop the young players too. If you're completely out of the playoffs,
you're down 6 D linemen. Play all the freshman defensive linemen, or you don't want to get everybody hurt. Play all your freshmen. Treat it as a JV season. At least that's better than just straight up pulling the plug. It's just disgusting. That's what it is. It's disgusting.
All right. So thank you for the rant, Chris. That was all of our questions, folks. Thank you so much for answering. Again, before we do our last little, game pick of the week, I don't know what Matt does. First, I want to say before we end this, make sure you like our page. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast, like our YouTube page. All of that helps. Leave good reviews. Don't leave bad ones, Adam Willie. Yeah, I'm looking at you. You did that as a joke once. I'm fighting you. But no, guys, we support. We appreciate the support. Thank you guys for asking all the questions. This has been real fun. So let's talk about our game of the week. The FCS Pick'em game of the week. We have 2-0 top 12 Delaware at 2-0 Rhode Island. We are going to go pick the score and the winner, Chris Hammond.
I'm motioning an Omaha here. I believe our FCS game of the week is actually Incarnate Word versus Nichols.
I don't care. Matt said it was this. I'm going with Matt. We can do a score for both of them. We can do a game score for both of them, but let's chat with this Delaware.
35-10.
Jamie.
Broke my curse last week with the Bison pick. I'm gonna go with the Blue Hens. Seems like the better team right now. Nolan Henderson running that offense. 28-24.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a team that has not gone into 2 overtime battles to get their wins. I'm going to go with the team who has won an average of, 35 to 1.5. I'm going to go Delaware Blue Hens. I think they beat Rhode Island. Let's go 34-21. Let's go that. 34-21. Okay, Chris. Now what's the other game? What'd you say it was?
Incarnate Word Nichols.
Okay, Incarnate Word Nichols. Where are they playing?
I believe it's at Nichols. Sorry, I don't have
Okay.
that pulled up. I just off the top of my head here, but I'm taking Nichols. 42-30.
Okay, Jamie.
Just to be different, Incarnate Word 52-49.
Okay. And just to be extremely different, Sam Houston State comes in there and beats both of them together 72-3. Yeah, it's probably gonna happen.
You taking bets for that? I want to lay some money on that.
No, for this one, I think I'm actually going to go. I think Nichols has more talent than Incarnate Word, but I think Incarnate Word is playing the better system right now. But I think I'm going to go Nichols in a close game. 31-28 Nichols. Okay. That's everything. Thank you guys for listening. Again, please like, subscribe, share, rate, all of that jazz. Thank you. And again, if you did not ask any questions, or if you think this episode was way too focused on one team, one conference in general, which I don't think it was, but next week, ask some questions. We'd love to chat about anything and everything that gets posted, and we try our best to chat about anything and everything. All right. You guys all have a great rest of the day, and go FCS. Boom.
We miss you, Frazee.
Boom.